To the Point is your source for bite-sized education commentary on the important issues impacting education today. I can promise you, your hosts won't always agree on the solutions, but their conversation adds unique insight to the national dialogue. When you need education policy analysis without the fluff, get to the point.
Hi, I'm Jim Horne, a partner with Strategos, and thank you for joining us on our To the Point broadcast. Today, I have a special guest host, Tara Reid-Cherry, a partner with Strategos, taking the place of Doug Messacar, who normally joins me in Point, and we are incredibly honored to have Representative John Snyder with us. He is one of the true education reform, school choice warriors in the state of Florida, and we're very, very fortunate to have you.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Tara. Great to be with y'all today.
Thank you.
I'll start it off. Obviously we're here at Governor Bush's National Education Summit, and just minutes ago, the governor spoke as part of an interview process, talking a lot about school choice, a little bit of a historical walk down memory lane of kind of where we've started in Florida. I was very fortunate to kind of be part of that early days back when we started down that path. And I know you're a big supporter and a big fan of school choice. So what do you see? Florida's always the pioneer, right? Florida's always leading the way, and other states tend to follow what Florida's doing. So what do you think is the next school choice 2.0 in Florida?
Well, it's always great to hear from Governor Bush. And, in Florida with term limits, I think it's easy when you come into the process, you think that a problem is brand new and the work you're doing is brand new, but it's so important to look back at the rich heritage and history of some of those bold reformers that before school choice was popular, before we had results, Florida was really there leading and pushing, and I just can't say enough good things about Governor Bush and the entire team that made it happen. And now it's on us to continue to keep the pedal down. We know that the work is never done. I think that was one of the key points that he made today. And so I think as we head into this next legislative session, coming out of transformative school choice empowerment with universal school choice, I think there'll still be some cleanup to do there as we take stock on what's working, what hasn't worked, and how do we continue to empower parents. I think high school workforce learning, that's an area that I'm passionate about. And so I think really this concept of reimagining high school, credentials of value, and how do we make sure that if our kids are in the classroom, they're actually learning and receiving tools that will actually bring value to their life and help them pursue the American dream.
That's awesome. Great response. And, obviously a teacher is real important in that classroom, right? We hear a lot of national shortages of teachers, and I'm sure in some places it's pretty acute problem. What do you think? Florida is kind of out there too with alternative certification. I think today I hear that over 50% of all new teachers are coming through a different pathway. They didn't come through a college of education. They came through a different kind of a program. Any thoughts on what we're doing there? Is it working? Should we do more of it? Or do we need to sort of continue to work on reforming it?
We certainly need to continue to work on the reform piece. I think, when we look at teacher certification, traditionally it has been a very cumbersome and complicated process. And at the same time, we have to have it. We have to have a standard of who we have in our classroom. And I think at the end of the day, one of the biggest tools that certification can bring is that's really the only vehicle that Department of Education has to really bring consequence to a teacher that is not following the standards or where action needs to be taken. But I think what we're seeing today in the marketplace is that more professionals who, like you said, maybe went to college, not in an educator preparation program, but realize, hey, there is an opportunity to go make a wonderful living, to make a difference in our community, and to give back in the classroom. And so when you have folks who, we'll use a mathematics major, for instance, if they want to come in and teach physics and algebra, I would say that's exactly who we want in front of our kids teaching math. And so anytime we can cut red tape, drive efficiency, but also maintain quality, I think that's the ultimate goal within certification reform.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. And in some cases, you could even argue maybe the colleges of education are a dinosaur, kind of a dying breed. And, you have these career switchers, right? Folks who've had one career and they would like to take that career and the job experiences that they had there and kind of transfer them into the classroom. And we need to continue to make it easier. Now, I certainly don't think you just toss them in there and hope for the best. I mean, because teaching is not easy,
I tell you, so this last week I did the veterans, it was Veterans Day, and I had the privilege of serving in the Marine Corps and made the circuit to a couple different schools. And that was what I quickly realized is I don't have what it takes to be a teacher, because it doesn't matter if it's a third grader or a 12th grader, those eyes staring at you, it can be intimidating. But one area, and it was great to partner with Senator Burgess, an Army, he's still in the reserves. But 3 years ago, we worked together on the Troops to Teachers kind of 2.0. And that was an exciting one where, again, we found there's a segment of our population, individuals who have leadership abilities, know what it means to be a part of a mission bigger than themselves, and truly care about our country and our community, that as they were transitioning out of the military, they had applicable leadership skills and education where, to your point, instead of just throwing them to the wolves, we created a program where under the partnership of a mentor and being able to get them onto the path of full-time certification. I think that was a good example of just trying to think creatively on how we, again, solve this teacher shortage crisis that every state is facing right now.
Well, and I think we've done a good job, raising those salaries for teachers, getting them in the door. Any thoughts on how we retain them longer?
Yes.
Keep the high quality teachers in the classroom.
I think, just like anything in government, sometimes the easy button is let's throw more money at it. And we had to do that because we knew our starting teacher salary in the state was in the bottom of the pack nationwide. And I think part of just the job seeker landscape has changed. We know that college graduates now are not confined to going right back home where they were born and raised per se, but they are willing to explore other areas of the country. And so I think one of the first struggles is getting them in the door. And yes, money is a big part of that. But I think at the individual level where, certainly the districts have a great opportunity. Charter schools really have that unique ability to create that corporate culture. That's ultimately what's going to keep somebody engaged is a good professional development program, making sure that there are resources to avoid burnout, making sure that, and I think one of the struggles is, again, student behavior, making sure that our teachers' hands aren't tied, getting the phones out of the classroom. So I think these are all, there's no silver bullet in the race to solve this, but making sure we can compete on salaries, but then making sure that the resources and that corporate culture, so to speak, is in place at the school level.
Well, and I think to your point, getting the devices out of kids' hands, allowing teachers to hopefully have more focus from their kids will be helpful.
Without a doubt.
Anything you guys are looking at doing in terms of devices or social media in Florida? Anything on your mind?
Well, obviously we passed some landmark social media restrictive guidelines. If no social media at the age of 14 without parental consent, and then at the age of 16, then you can kind of take the wheels on that. I can tell you as a father of a now 8th grade daughter, I kind of joke. So, we have the hurricane cone in Florida. I said when we were going through that bill, I said I am in the track in the cone on this stuff because it's real. The threat that our kids and especially our young girls are under, just the pressure of social media, of these phones, of bullying, and as the governor talked about this morning, at the end of the day, that's just a giant distraction in the classroom. It's bad for the students, it's bad for the teachers, and so I think many states are starting to take note on that getting those devices out of the classroom, And I think there's some innovative ways to do that, but also push pause on the social media. There's a time and a place for that, but that middle school, early high school years are so formative.
Yeah.
I think we'll continue to just tweak that, and we know that the big tech firms are creative in how they can get around some of those things, and so I think there'll always be a little bit of a cat and mouse. But at the end of the day, what we've seen from industry is they want to partner, and as long as they know what the rules of the road are, they want to be good faith partners too, but we'll make sure that accountability is there.
I've been off social media since December, and I have a lot more time in my day. So I think we should all get off.
I love it.
It's great.
Yeah, you got to, balance it with, the other side is the school safety side, right? Parents want, if there's something happens at the school, they want to be in contact with them. But I think that we can overcome that, right? It's a challenge. We've, since the Parkland shooting, we've taken tremendous steps and poured a lot of resources into a variety of kinds of solutions and technologies that make our schools safer. And I think part of that decision to take devices out, and I agree 100%. And I think I understand the data that supports that, right? I mean, it's not just an opinion that we're creating. The data supports students can become more engaged. Now, there's a period of time where they have to have withdrawals from it. Yeah. But then we understand there's greater academic achievement, there's more engagement, there's better focus. A lot of good things happen, but we've got to reassure parents that our schools will be safe, and your child doesn't need to have that device on, at that moment. So, we've got to strike a balance there, and I think we can.
Without a doubt. And I think part of that is where, we're seeing some even here at the Excel in Ed conference, some of the innovators that are trying to thread that needle and bring that balance. And so I look forward to that, and I think that's where we ultimately land right there in the middle is, good common sense tools where, hey, there's a time and a place where this is locked up. In that case of emergency, they can be accessed. But again, as a father of two young girls, nothing more important in my eyes than school safety.
Absolutely, I agree. Four, they're all grown now. I'm in the grandkid stage, and so I've got 3 school-age grandchildren and 4 more to come after that. And that's the thing that you always, as a parent, you just need to have some assurances that when you send your child to school, they're going to be safe. They say that. I know some psychologists said there's 2 great fears that people have. One is earthquakes. Well, we don't really have to deal with earthquakes in Florida. And the other is sending your children off to school and the fear they might not come back. So, kind of settling that kind of a fear. And I think we've done that now. I think you guys have done a tremendous job of, investing in hardening of schools and the technologies to make the schools safer. And I think we'll continue to probably make that a high priority and do that. Schools, we talk a lot about the continuum of schools, and it's not just K-12 or it's K-14 or K-20, any term you want to use, and it's that sort of natural pathway to a career. And Florida, again, is sort of leading with other states in making sure that they have opportunities. In fact, there's a lot of conversations around that, some students need to have a career pathway that might not involve going to a sort of a destination like university, right? And what do you see? You see more of that happening in the future in Florida? What do you hear?
Without a doubt. I think I'll be the first one to say we are blessed in the state of Florida. We have the highest rated public university, state college system in the country. And so for a lot of students, that traditional 4-year college is the right choice for them. But I was in the bucket. Part of my story and part of what shaped my policy-making, decision-making is I went off to college, and after my second switch of the major, my dad called me and said, "Son, I want you to figure this out, but you're going to do it on your own dime," because my grades were not where they needed to be for university. And quite honestly, Jim, it's because I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so I think there's so much pressure coming out of high school. Where are you going to college? Where are you going to college? And so I think sometimes kids almost feel that social pressure to make that choice, where I ultimately found my calling was joining the Marine Corps, served 5 years and was able to use the GI Bill to finish my college, earn that degree. But learning a trade, I was an aircraft mechanic. And so getting to get stretched way outside my comfort zone ultimately landed me in the career that I'm in today on my day job. And so I think as we look at high school, as we look at, again, these credentials of value, I'm sorry, I just don't think that, when a school district can wave the flag and say, well, 100% of our kids have earned a credential. Well, if it's in Microsoft Word, yes, typing is important, but how do we make sure we're actually getting these kids on the right pathway? And one of the things that we did last year in working with some of the folks on your team was really charging our school districts to create the catalog and really tell us what programs are being offered, what are the funding sources, what are the funding streams, and really, I think, not only empower parents, but also policymakers to say, okay, where do we have deserts of workforce development? And then what actually are we doing, and how can we really come up with a statewide approach to answer the talent pipeline shortage of tomorrow? And so whether it's construction, whether it's the service industry, whether it's healthcare, I think Florida, and again, the governor said it today, or one of the speakers, in order to have a strong economy, you have to have a strong education system.
Correct.
And so I think tearing down some of that stigma of saying it's okay to not go to that traditional four-year college, go earn that trade, eventually open up your own business, pursuing the American dream. There's dignity in that, and we want to continue to expand those opportunities to make sure that every child in the state of Florida has that pathway, whether it is that four-year college, workforce, vocational. That's where we're headed.
25 years ago, I knew a legislator that said the exact same thing right there. And that legislator said one of the things to make that a reality was you had to tie funding to the outcomes.
Yep.
We did. Now, of course, they repealed it quickly after that legislator left. But it tied, and the focus primarily was on the state college system and the K-12 system. The universities didn't really want to play, but it linked funding to job placement. And what happened was immediately in the state college system dropped lots of programs that they've been offering that weren't really relevant anymore, and they weren't leading to the kind of 21st century jobs. And instead, they started creating programs that were in high demand by businesses. It had a desired impact. And I'm wondering if maybe that idea ought to be dusted off again, and maybe you guys try to do that, because that would actually force these sort of monolithic systems to react to what you want them to do.
Well, I think that's always the danger within government. It's easy sometimes for those silos to be built up, and just like anything, once people get accustomed to a certain way of doing it, and they know that the money stream is there, and if we just continue to do A, B, and C, it doesn't matter, the money's coming. Yeah. Well, if A, B, and C doesn't actually translate into real world results, I think that's how we shake up the system. And we certainly have seen the benefits of increased competition within the K-12 arena. And so I think the more opportunities we have for industry to partner with our state colleges, with some of our nonprofits that are doing workforce development within the school district, that's, again, where we kind of break down those barriers. And just because that's the way we've always done it is never an acceptable answer. Absolutely. So get me some language, Jim. Yeah. I'm ready to go. Well, I'm always in for a good fight.
I used to say,
Jim, were you
money
the senator
changes
who
behavior.
Said that?
Yeah, money changes behavior, and a lot of money changes a lot of behavior, and we know that works. And we're excited about your career, your trajectory is almost unlimited, and we hope you continue to pursue some of these things and whatever we can do to help support what you do. So, I would like to thank everybody for joining us.
Thanks, Jim.
To the Point.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Tara.
Thank you.
To the Point is your source for bite-sized education commentary on the important issues impacting education today. I can promise you, your hosts won't always agree on the solutions, but their conversation adds unique insight to the national dialogue. Jim Horne is a Strategos partner and former Florida Education Commissioner serving under Governor Jeb Bush. Doug Messakar is a Strategos partner and a former teacher. He's also served as a senior EdTech executive and a U.S. Department of Education Deputy Chief of Staff. This episode is powered by Strategos Group, a national education management consultancy. To learn more, visit www.strategosgroup.com and follow us on LinkedIn. When you need education policy analysis without the fluff, get to the point.